Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to jump into just one single verse from what is, let's be honest, the Bible's most mysterious book, Revelation. But this one sentence is a huge key. It identifies a figure known as Babylon the Great, and honestly, the answer it gives, based on the material we're digging into, might just surprise you. So let's break it down.
Here it is in the original Greek. Now, don't let this throw you off. It's all part of the mystery we're unpacking. See, hidden inside this ancient language is a clue that unlocks the identity of this mysterious woman, a great city, and a powerful kingdom. So let's jump in and see what we can find.
And this is the big question, right? This is what people have been trying to figure out for centuries. The verse itself gives us the answer, but understanding why that answer is so important, well, that's what we're trying to figure out today. We are officially on a hunt for an identity. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at what the verse says directly. Then we'll dive into the original Greek to look for some deeper clues. After we pin down this city's identity based on this particular interpretation, we'll see the powerful contrast it creates. And to wrap it all up, we'll see how this whole thing connects to an epic prophecy from the book of Daniel. All right, first things first. Let's just look at what the verse says, plain and simple. It doesn't really start with a riddle. It makes a really direct, really powerful statement that pretty much sets the stage for everything that follows. You know, the text is actually super clear on this point. The angel literally tells John, the woman you saw, she is the great city. This figure, who's also called Babylon and the great harlot in the chapter, isn't a literal person. She's a symbol for a powerful, reigning city. Find one, and you find the other.
Okay, now for the really fun part. To really get the weight of this verse, we're going to go back to the original Greek and look at the exact words the author chose. This is where we get to be detectives and find the deepest clues.
So our first clue is this word gaimi, which just means the woman. Simple enough, right? She's the character at the center of this whole thing. And the whole point of this verse is to finally pull back the curtain and show us who this symbolic figure really is.
And boom, here's the reveal. Polis Megali, the great city. This isn't just a place on a map. It's a system, a whole center of power and influence. Literally everything hinges on his figuring out, which city is this?
And that leads us to our final keyword, bazillion. This means kingdom or reign or royal power. And this is huge because it tells us the city isn't just big, it's actively in charge. It possesses dominion over earthly kings. That's a massive clue about how it operates. Okay, so we've got our clues laid out, we've looked at the language, now it's time to put it all together. The commentary we're looking at puts forward an identity for the city that, well, it might not be what you're thinking. So get this. The big reveal from our source material is that this great city, this Babylon, isn't Rome, and it's not some future empire. It's identified as first-century Jerusalem, specifically the corrupt religious system that was in power when Jesus was alive. Now, it's super important to say, this is one major way of looking at it. There are definitely other interpretations out there. So you might be asking, why Jerusalem? How does that fit? Well, the argument basically boils down to 4 key points. First, think about it. This was the city that rejected its own king. Second, it looked glorious on the outside with its temple, but Jesus called it inwardly corrupt. Third, it had turned God's covenant into a system of man-made control, spiritually becoming a Babylon. And finally, and this is a big one, its religious leaders showed they could reign over earthly kings when they pressured Pontius Pilate to have Jesus executed.
Okay, so when you see it this way, it sets up this incredible contrast that you actually see all throughout the Bible. It's this powerful story of 2 women, which represent 2 cities, and ultimately 2 different kinds of kingdoms.
So let's break this down. On one side, you've got the harlot. This represents that earthly, man-made religious system, the Old Covenant system, that became all about earthly power, ruling through fear and control. But on the other side, you have the bride, the church. She represents a spiritual kingdom that reigns with Christ through grace and life. You see, it's a clash between 2 totally different kinds of power, one that dominates the earth and one that transforms it from a heavenly reality. You know, this whole idea of one kingdom replacing another isn't new. It actually has super deep roots in biblical prophecy. And to really get the fall of this great city, we got to connect the dots back to a famous vision in the book of Daniel. So Daniel has this vision, right? He sees this massive statue made of all these different metals, and each part represents a different human empire, one after the other. But then out of nowhere, a stone, one that wasn't cut by human hands, shows up, slams into the statue's feet, and the whole thing just crumbles into dust. And then that stone just grows and grows until it's a mountain that fills the whole earth, symbolizing this new divine kingdom that replaces all the others.
And here's where it all clicks together. That stone from Daniel's dream, that's Jesus, the Lamb from Revelation. And the moment that stone struck the foundation of all these human-built kingdoms, that was the cross. According to this view, the cross was the decisive blow that shattered the foundation of the world's systems, including the great city. And this all leads to a pretty stunning conclusion if you think about it. The fall of Babylon, the judgment of this corrupt system. From this viewpoint, it's not some far-off future event that we're all still waiting for. No, its fate was sealed the moment Jesus said, "It is finished." That victory was already won. And so that leaves us with a huge question to chew on. According to this perspective, the cosmic war between these two kingdoms was decided at the cross. The stone has already hit, the mountain is already growing. So if the victory is truly already won, what does that change for us, right here, right now?